Hello everyone, Materim here with another Fluffmasters video. This is going to be a little unusual because instead of detailing a single one of the armies in our narrative, this video is actually going to go into each of the armies currently in the narrative and describe a setup to narratively lead them into the events of the End of Times Nagash campaign and narrative fluff. Each one of these segments on the individual armies is written by the player of that army and will essentially explain a 6-month gap that we are taking in the narrative. The next battle reports we post will take place after this 6-month jump, so please pay attention and might help you understand where the narrative is going from here on in. The Dwarves of Clan Odhine. The past several months have been filled with equal parts mourning and rage, with Gore, son of Ogrim, sacrificing himself for the Hammerfell, an act which Ogrim would have celebrated. The times have turned truly dark for Clan Odhine. Ogrim's hatred has boiled over into the ranks, each dwarf seething with anger and spite. Grudges and ancient war rites are being performed as the dwarves killed any non-dwarf upon the Hammerfell mountain. No pity would be found, no remorse or quarter. The Odhine were barely a step from slayers themselves. This is also a time when more and more dwarves began to pour into the Odhine ranks, support from various keeps that did not wish to fully enter the fight. It was also a time that Graz and his smiths began searching for the artifacts of their gods. Indeed, the days themselves were getting darker. But the dwarves of Clan Odhine would weather this passing storm as they had all others. If nothing else, it would come down to sheer stubbornness and spite. Things the Odhine knew well. The White-Tooth Ogre Clan. Life has been good for the White-Tooth clan over the last 6 months, working exclusively for the Hammerfell dwarves of Karak Nor. The followers of Tyrant Facecrusher have had all the food, fighting, and new weapons that they desired. As Tok'ran predicted, having dwarf-made weapons has drawn more ogres to join the White-Tooth clan and helped to make them a major power within the region. Many of the battles fought by the clan were against the demons that seemed to be multiplying nearly without limit, but the White-Tooth met the challenge and have secured the trade routes to Britannia and kept the demons mostly out of them. However, all is not well in the White-Tooth clan. Tok'ran's daughter, Torga, has withdrawn to contemplate the whispers that she has heard in the winds of magic, and has begun experimenting with a power completely different than that granted to her by the Great Maw. Noticing her strange actions, Chog the Toothy, the tribe's slaughtermaster, has taken a significant interest in the girl. However, he understands that it would be fatal to act against the tyrant's daughter without evidence. So he and his spies wait until Torga makes the wrong move. The Bretonnians of House Serpine. The past 6 months have seen turmoil in the lands of Britannia. Lord Alphonius, spurred by the whispers of Malice Andhra, began a campaign to take control of the kingdom. Many knights rallied to his cause, with promises of glory, honor, and prestige. His quick and decisive wins gathered more troops marching under Musalin's banner, reaching a climax at the Battle of Quenelles, when he faced the knights under the command of King Lewin Leoncoeur himself. Riding atop the hippogriff Beaquis, King Lewin led the initial charge at Alphonius's rebel troops. The battle was one of the bloodiest in Britannia's history, as there were major losses on both sides. The lady was with King Lewin as he flew towards Alphonius. The two engaged in a battle that lasted for nearly an hour. Both Alphonius's mount and Beaquis fell, but the fight continued. It was only with the renewed assistance of the Keeper of Secrets that allowed Alphonius to strike the final blow. It was then that the fabled Green Knight emerged from the lake and removed his helm, revealing the now moral Guy Le Breton. With the Dolorious blade in hand, he walked across the battlefield and directly challenged Alphonius. Alphonius looked for his sword, but it was nowhere to be found. However, a whisper came to his ear saying, "You are my king. Use my sword to slay this usurper." It was Anya Snowmane who handed him her sword. A blade made from a single searing flame, hammered into material form, and quenched in the blood of the demons of Khorne. The Hellfire sword filled Alphonius with hatred and newfound endurance. He engaged Gilles with a raging fury. Blade clashed against blade. The Hellfire sword cut deep into the blessed armor of Le Breton with ease, but with the first strike a huge gash opened upon Alphonius's arm, burning him with the power of the Hellfire. The battle went back and forth, but in the end the power of the Hellfire was too much for the Bretonnian, and he fell. His armor and sword vanished, leaving the bloody body of the founder of their realm. It has been 2 months since that battle. Alphonius now sits upon the throne of Britannia. Anya has pledged her support to him, knowing full well of the taint surrounding him. Cartagia and Aveline have been sent back to the mountains to protect the Bretonnian border there. Malice Andra's influence has now begun to take form in the perversion and the corruptions of the land itself. The beastmen flourish in the forest as peasant and knight alike fall prey to the chaos. As the decadence grows, the lady herself has turned her attention to a new redeemer of the land. But can she save the soul of her true knight? The demons of chaos. Malice Andhra has spent the last 6 months riding upon a wave of power and ecstasy. Alphonius, her chosen champion, had been succeeding more than even she had expected of him, and each day she felt the power of the warp caressing her to greater strengths. Certainly the time of chaos was at hand. The pleasure of the Dark Prince had brought with it considerable power to the Keeper of Secrets, and she had no doubt that when the world finally broke before her waves of chaos that beset it, she would sit at the Dark Prince's right hand. Only 2 things distracted Melisandre from these visions of glory. The Chaos Dragon Galrash had been seen within the mountains. Though she was supremely confident in her own abilities, Melisandre was no fool, and realized that the presence of such a powerful follower of Tzeentch meant that the great deceiver had a hand in the events, and her lack of knowledge of his actions concerned her. Also, she had received word of the actions of the undead forces under Lord Mounthaven. Long had Mounthaven and his undead sought to eliminate the forces of excess and chaos in these lands, and he would certainly bear watching in the future. Morgore's Beastmen. Morgore had seen an influx of power with the new surge of chaos. More and more of his accursed kin came into the ranks, and before long his force found themselves becoming a sea of bodies in place of an army. Truly, even the Chaos Gods would require a grand sacrifice in exchange for such gifts. The great herdstone that had bound his father was now shattered and splintered, having been replaced by one whose size rivaled the mountains themselves. It was a great time for conquest, a time to repay the gifts the true gods had given them. Morgruul and Morgore had become the leaders of a great herd. Morgore's cunning convinced the others of his dominance, whilst Morgruul killed any that dared disagree. The brothers terrorized local villages, grabbing people for their dark rituals and food. In the end, however, Morgore cared little for the herd, or even the slaughter that his forces brought. No matter how hard he tried to focus on the other tasks before him, his mind brought him back to Anya Snowmane. She plagued his thoughts, and all he could do was turn that annoyance and rage towards the herd. He had been held for far too long, and the carnage-filled bloodlust would soon spill over into the old world, staining the ground red. It would be long, if ever, before the world would heal from the scars Morgore created. The Dark Elves of House Blackheart. "The barbarians are no concern to us right now," Tilandra Blackheart exclaimed as she read the report handed to her. "The Witch King can handle the interlopers. I want the Keeper of Secrets found!" Dreadlord Sinbane bowed to his mistress and began to depart her study. He had been recalled 4 months ago to discuss the plans for the Grey Mountains. His continual failures had cost him command of the mountain forces as he was called back for punishment. His only saving grace was the deal made with the Demon Prince. He had been waiting to hear from it, but word never came. "Sinbane, I am sparing your neck one last time. Cain demands that Malice Andhra be sent back to the Chaos Realms as soon as possible. I would see this before the Witch King finishes off the northern barbarians. Am I understood?" "Yes, my mistress." With that he left the study, only to run into the Shadow Stalker, who had been waiting for him outside the door. "What do you want, assassin? I'm in no mood for your games." "My lord, I bring you news of the Demon Prince. He fell in battle 4 months ago. Things have been quite difficult in the mountains lately. With the human knights in civil war and the ogres attacking whomever they see, it has been difficult to get word out. I came myself as I knew this was something you would want to hear as soon as possible." "Thank you. How much will this information cost me?" "Let's just say I prefer you to that bitch Lilinda. She has decided that the ogres need to be dealt with first. She sent this word to you to bring support troops to fight under her command. I disagreed. She tried to have me killed. She failed. Contact the Kraken Lord that we shall sail back immediately. Tell your consort that if we arrive just after her battle, there will be extra for him. I feel that the ogres are going to be the least of our troubles soon. I will need total command of our forces if we are able to draw out the Keeper of Secrets." "With pleasure, my lord." The Vampire Counts of Lord Mounthaven. The Master rises. This phrase, spoken by Archon the Black nearly 6 months ago, is all that's kept Lord Alessandro Mounthaven focused. His actions have not succeeded in Britannia as he was instructed to do. That failure has brought fear to the heart of the vampire for the first time in centuries. Soon his master would come, and he needed some great act of loyalty to further the necromancer's plans. He could feel the forces of chaos moving to counter each of his actions. He needed to find a way to strike at the warriors and the demons of chaos and regain his status, and he needed to do it quickly. So he had done what would have been considered suicide only a short year ago. He reached out to the forces of order, secretly searching for allies against the flood of chaos. Only time would tell if he would be able to gather those allies in time to prevent his destruction at either the hands of chaos or those of his displeased master. The Warriors of Chaos. Garaush knew something had changed. Over the past 6 months he had felt a sense of dread, something he had never experienced before. His connection with Tzeentch had weakened more and more as the days went on, but no explanation was ever given by his master. His forces had been victorious lately in small battles, thanks to the recruitment of some of the remaining Snowmane forces that had been left in the mountains. The addition of the Skull Crushers of the Blood God had turned the tide in the few skirmishes, as they had attacked some of the humans retreating back into the borders of Britannia. But this feeling of dread now consumed the Chaos Dragon's thoughts. He had dispatched his sorcerers 3 months ago to track down the one thing in particular, one thing that may help his forces in the coming days and give them a possible edge. However, that may come with a price, and today was the first day that the Chaos Dragon may have to pay it. The door to his chambers opened, and a large figure walked in, followed by 2 others. The smell of bile and vomit filled the chamber as the figures approached. The 3 stopped a respectful distance away as the dragon's 2 heads turned to face the massive figure of the Troll King. "Throg, King of Trolls, your reputation precedes you," Garaush muttered, with as much respect as the Chaos Dragon could muster for this creature. "I've come as you asked, Dragon," the Soul King hissed. "Why have you sent for me?" "I wish to acquire your services in the coming months. I know you have seen what has happened in the past. The humans retreat to fight amongst themselves. The Druchi who have allied with us have reduced their forces because of issues in their pathetic homeland. The white-toothed ogres have become more aggressive, and now serve the dwarves. The chaos beasts have withdrawn into the forest, but it is something to do with the dead that I feel may be causing these ripples. I do not know for certain. I need an edge in the coming days, and I feel your forces and influence may be that edge. Why should I care, dragon, about what you feel or desire? Throg hissed back. Because your hatred of humans can continue to be fed here. It is just a matter of time before they return. I offer my assistance in your war. I have no love for them either. They serve a purpose for my master, but their influence will begin to grow again. I ask in return that you provide the stability to my troll forces and work with my Lord Martok. His hatred for the dwarves rival yours for the race of man. I think you will find him to be a valuable ally. Throg thought for a moment. He knew of the humans' retreat into their borders. He would enjoy taking his war past those borders, even if it meant an alliance with the Lord of Change. I agree with your request, dragon. I'll hold up my end. See to it that your pets hold up theirs. Agreed. With that, the Troll King turned and walked back the way they had come. Garrosh summoned his sorcerers again to take a message to General Martok. It was one word. Begin. The Dwarves of Clan Hammerfell. The last 6 months have been a time for growth for the Hammerfell clan. Despite the loss of the deep tunnels to the demons, most of the former holds of Carak Nor had been recovered. This had led to trade routes to Britannia having been completely opened, and with new weapons being purchased daily by King Alphonius for the use in his personal battles, a flood of wealth was brought into the stronghold. Of even greater interest to the clan is the news that Queen Greta is indeed pregnant with the offspring of Prince Doran Hammerfell, and the line of the kings of Carak Nor will be continued. In addition to the battles with the demons that have appeared in the mountains, the Hammerfell have found themselves in conflict with the Dark Elf raiders as they have attempted to rebuild the northern ports at the edge of their territory. All in all, the Dwarves of Clan Hammerfell are looking to the future with hope and the belief that their star is rising in the Grey Mountains. The Empire. It had been a difficult 6 months for Heinrich von Grunberg. Each missive from Altdorf seemed to expound upon another new tragedy in the Empire. Sylvania was cut off with so many of the faithful lost. The great flood of chaos pressing in on the north was barely held back by the army and the magics of Balthazar the Gold, and his own actions in the western edge of the Empire could be considered a stalemate at best. The Archlector put himself completely towards his duty. Gone are the concerns of title and politics. In mind is only the ever-present threat of the Beastmen. He has sworn that he will never retreat, and in the face of that oath many of the men of the Empire have given their lives. Having made the city of Loningsbrook his headquarters, the Archlector's forces have turned the major ruin into a powerful stronghold against the darkness. Felix Weishoff has rejoined the army after recovering from the wounds given him by the Green Knight, and has formed a small conclave of wizards dedicated to supporting the Archlector's war against the Beastmen. The sons of the Empire currently stand strong, but they are outnumbered and surrounded, and have no allies but their own pride to rely on. Alright, well, I just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to this Fluffmasters and listening. Hopefully this will explain some of the battles that we set up in the next several battle reports, and you guys will follow along with the story there. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to the video and the channel. And if you have any questions about what's going on or anything does not seem clear at this point, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and we'll definitely get to them and engage them as soon as possible. We're definitely looking forward to putting our own spin on the fluff that the End Times presents, and I hope this gives you guys a little taste of what that's going to mean for the future of the channel and the reports. So thanks, and I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you next time.